Hello and welcome to the Downshift, whereas in this episode we will review the Chinese Grand Prix, wonder over what has happened to McLaren, visit our predictions, and we celebrate the first race win for Kimi Räikkönen.
No.
He's
Hang
back.
on.
He's back.
Räikkönen.
Back on again. Come on, Kimi.
Well, that's how his announcement was made.
That's how it was announced on the
How
podium.
long's it been since
Poor Kimi.
Raikkonen has driven? Yeah, that's shit.
It's been a long
At least
time.
12 to 18 months, if I'm my recollection.
I'm tipping the announcer is old enough to remember, though.
Absolutely.
It was really
So,
bad.
no, the first race win for one Andrea Kimi Antonelli, as it's
Lights out.
McLaren's trying to drop the clutch but not going anywhere.
Come on, Audi, let's get racing.
Work on my bit.
That's what your wife said.
Make sure that
Well-
stays in, KT.
Hello and welcome to the Downshift. Joining me is Huppy, Schwags, Lockie, and I'm KT. As this weekend we saw the continued dominance of Mercedes as well as the developing capability of Ferrari, while the 2025 world champions were found wanting in a race that awarded the first race win for Kimi Antonelli
Yeah, good job,
Well
Kimi.
done, Kimi. Good job.
Well deserved.
and a much happier Lewis Hamilton. So, team, some exciting racing
Lulu.
over the weekend.
Yeah, it was really good to watch. We got together and watched it at your place, KT, and I must admit we enjoyed it immensely watching the race day. Probably not as much as the drivers after their comments when they got out of the car. But that was, in terms of actually watching the cars fight and battle each other, that was the best one we've seen for a while.
Battle ensued, didn't it? Like the chopping and changing of places. And it actually lasted a lot longer than it did in Australia. Like in Australia, it was done by, I don't know, lap 10, 12 or something like that. They'd sort of sorted themselves out. But this was still going right up, maybe not to the end, but it was at least halfway through. It was still going on for Ferrari.
Definitely wasn't the most boring Grand Prix I've watched, which was an encouraging sign. But I guess we can talk a bit more about the race as we go along.
That's Monaco, mate.
Just a question arises about tomato rules.
Tomato
rules. Well, it was a mix of youth breaking through with Antonelli's masterclass, to your point, Schwags, with the Ferrari inter-team epic battles through the race, heartbreak for McLaren with their wipeout for the main race, and confirmation of Mercedes' edge. So less chaotic than some of the races, but packed with emotion and talking points. So we may as well start off with the sprint race, the first sprint race for the season. And I hate to say it, I didn't mind it.
Well, you're out.
Well, at least there was
Right,
there was some overtakes and a bit of action, so it wasn't too bad. And
We've
yeah,
clearly all got your back on that one.
Absolutely. I feel really supported, but
So just a standard for us, and as per usual.
no,
It
we
wasn't
saw
terrible.
we saw in sprint quali Russell take out pole with 1 minute 31.520. Antonelli, Norris, Hamilton, Piastri, Leclerc, Gasly, and Verstappen back in 8th positions. So yeah, really looking in regards to the pecking order under the new regulations for these teams.
I think that the interesting thing in that was that in Melbourne, the McLaren seemed to have a pretty big edge in quali, but around this track, it looked like the other teams had started to work out how to use their engine mode deployment a bit better, and Ferrari and McLaren in particular managed to get a fair bit closer. I don't think Mercedes would have felt quite as comfortable after sprint quali, and maybe they probably went into the main quali not being quite as confident as they might have been in Melbourne as well.
I think the other teams worked out how to get out on track.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought.
We'll come back to that later.
We can come back to that.
But I think to your point also is this is where we saw, especially as we got into the sprint race, Ferrari having it over Mercedes in the cornering section. Mercedes obviously has the straight line pace and is able to manage the battery and also use that engine power a bit more. But Ferrari seemed very competitive in the corners, and you saw that competition between Lewis and George in the early stages, which was really exciting to watch.
I think what I got from that and from the main race that we can talk about is that Mercedes, I think their advantage seemed to be mostly in their tyre wear. They were kinder on tyres. They didn't work the tyres as hard. So for the first part of the sprint race and the first part of the main race, it did seem pretty close. And there was some chopping and changing, but over the distance, the longer the race went, the more the edge the Mercedes seemed to have. And they showed that a little bit in the sprint race. We could see that their tyre wear looked a bit better than everyone else's. So it sort of
But
set
that
the
sort of
scene for
harks
the
back
main
to
race.
last year then, because McLaren had that advantage last year, whereas they seem to be able to maintain their tyres and just be able to look after them better, and now Mercedes has flipped that script sort of thing.
Yeah, and George was always known as the tyre whisperer. Like, he could make a set of tyres last a long time, like Alex Albon, who was gentle on tyres. And I think from some of the comments we heard from Bono, Antonelli's engineer at the end of the race, that Antonelli is very similar. Like, he's very good with managing tyres, grip, balance in the
But
car. So that's
I did
obviously
see a
working
post
well.
today that had there was a McLaren one on there saying that that the new tyre whisperer is Piastri because he hasn't even worn through a set for the first 2 Grand Prix, so he's now taken over that title.
The safety car's done 4 Grand Prix laps this year, and Piastri's still
Four
at
more than
zero.
Piastri.
Oh, it's terrible. What a stat.
We laugh with that until we cry.
That's exactly right. But and look, we saw a late safety car in the sprint race, which then gave Leclerc an opportunity. But again, from that perspective, he had a poor restart, so basically handing Russell the win. And to that point, I think we saw the same both in the sprint race and also the main race, where it was Leclerc whose tyres really gave up on him, and so wasn't able to convert at the tail end of both races.
Yeah, and then I guess after the sprint race, we head into main qualifying for the main race, and the gaps again were not quite as big as I thought. Like, McLaren definitely had an advantage, but not McLaren, Mercedes, but McLaren and Ferrari were reasonably close behind. And you get the impression if McLaren made a bit of an error, then one of those other two teams could have nabbed a front row spot.
Yeah, there was not a lot in it.
No, we saw the top 7 being in the 132s, so all within that 1 second, and it was only once you got to P8 for Verstappen, which was in the 133s. But we did see Antonelli claiming the youngest ever F1 pole sitter in Vettel's 2008 record, so that was great to see. Excellent result for Kimi there, but we had George, who had only one hot lap basically to try and take pole. So I think he was quite happy that it was a 1-2.
Great effort from Russell just to get out there. He had one attempt in Q3 to do it, and Kimi had all the time he needed to sort of work up to it. And I mean, look, not taking anything away from Kimi, he had a fantastic weekend in every session. Basically, he looked strong, but yeah, Russell did a great job to get P2 in quali there, I think.
It was almost flipped from Melbourne, where Kimi had it last time. He had one shot to get out and do it, and George had it this time, where he had the one shot to get out and do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the gap between Mercedes and Ferrari and McLaren has seemed to narrowed in this second round, because I think McLaren and Ferrari have both got good platforms to build from. They just have to work out how to extract the most out of their car. And Mercedes is already that sort of one step ahead from them. So you would expect any car with a good platform, good engine, will be able to make some pretty good ground against Mercedes in the first half of the season at least. But I think there's already been a decent sort of step forward since Melbourne, from what I could tell.
We're going to see different tracks that suit different.
Yeah.
Like especially
Absolutely.
McLaren, this one to the next one, they've got a large gap because they didn't even start. So that's a
Well,
fairly
yeah.
large gap.
They got plenty of development time.
But you're right. You're seeing a faster track in regards to Melbourne. You're seeing a more technical track in regards to China. Suzuka, this is actually a really good mix of the two. So as you start to go into that, and we'll talk about this next week, is you're seeing quite a technical track, but you've also got some very fast straights through Suzuka as well. So I think that's going to be interesting to see the development of Ferrari and McLaren, as they've now got 2 weeks essentially to work on the car. And I think, McLaren will be pushing to get as many upgrades into the vehicle as possible. If we look at the pre-race disaster, we had a double did not start for McLaren. Now, Andrea Stella was saying, not blaming the Mercedes in regards to the engine provider. He's saying it's a McLaren issue, and they're working with Mercedes in regards to this. But we did see Norris and Piastri, who did not start due to electrical issue. They replaced Norris's ECU, and apparently it was a different electrical issue for Piastri, where it was spotted literally minutes before the lights went out. So they pushed the car back into the garage and had to withdraw as well.
Absolute shocker for the team, for supporters, for sponsors. These are the world champions from last year, and then both cars have failed to even run a single lap in the race. That's a massive failure for McLaren. So yeah, it's a real tough one for them.
And we did see also Alex Albon and Bortoleto, who both had hydraulic faults. So we had 4 did not starts for the race before we then kicked off. And the starting grid going off the line was absolutely amazing to watch. We saw massive gains from Ferrari as they made their way up through the grid. But we then also did see Max Verstappen, who really struggled to get off the line.
Ferrari got the jump on the start again, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they did that at Melbourne too. They got a really good start, and the 2 Mercedes didn't quite clear it, but it was painful to watch Max at the line.
You have to start these cars well, don't you? Yeah, if you don't start the car well, they're race over. And Alonso got a cracking start again too. Like he's just a master at starting car races and gaining positions. I think he got up to 8th or 10th again or something, and then obviously slowly went backwards from there. But he's good to watch.
Imagine if he had a car that was drivable.
I saw some of the footage of how bad that steering wheel was shaking, and I'm like, that's terrible.
Well,
Yeah,
taking
saw him
off
take
down the
his hand
straight,
off,
shaking their hands, weren't they? Like, yeah.
Yeah. He was taking his hands off the wheel down the straights, shaking them to
Yeah,
get some feeling back in. So it really looked like he lasted as long as he could.
I think that's going to be a real tragic story for this year, because I think Alonso was hoping to, go out with Aston Martin on a bit of a high. They were going to have a good unit this year and have a good race, and Adrian Newey and Aero and blah,
An actual
blah, blah.
competitive car, yeah.
An actual competitive car. And even if he only finished 3rd or 4th, overall, it would have been a great result for him. But I think it's going to be a big, big battle from here on.
We talked him up at the end of last year, didn't we? We were sort of hopeful that they've got Adrian Newey, they've got other big signings. They have a couple of $100 million, £1 million of investment from Stroll. They're building new facilities. They've got 1.5 amazing drivers, and then their car's vibrating so much they can't finish the race. So the whole Honda.
To be fair, though, I don't think any of
shocker.
us mentioned the engine the whole time we were talking Aston Martin up. So that was probably the biggest flaw that we hadn't actually spoken about.
Just hurt their company value, because that was Lawrence's plan, wasn't it? Buy it, build it up, sell it off.
Not yet.
Yeah, well, Lawrence apparently has lost about $500 million in valuation since the start of the season. So
yeah,
they'll fix it and it'll come back up again.
It's invisible money until you want to sell the team. So I mean, everyone thinks they've got a pretty decent platform as long as they can sort out these engine and battery issues, the vibration stuff. Then we'll see how they go. Like hopefully they're a more competitive team, and then the valuation will go back up. So it's obviously a long-term plan, but oh my God, wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall in some of these meetings about engine and integration and vibration?
Not really. I think there'd be a lot of yelling, and I don't think I want to be in that meeting.
Get even as a fly.
a bit too true
Out of
for you,
here.
Lockie.
I'd be getting out of there.
No flies in that room.
But no, we did see from the race there was a 1-2 lockout for Mercedes again, and we did see Kimi Antonelli, who at 19 years of age has claimed his first Grand Prix win. So just an amazing effort in that regards, leading his teammate by 5.5 seconds, becoming the second youngest winner in F1 history behind Max Verstappen.
I ask a question. Is the finish line at the front of the grid or at the back of the grid?
At the front of the grid.
I think it's at the. I think they hit it pretty early, because are you talking about how he stopped at the end of the race near his team?
When he finished that race, I'm like, mate, you've got to get over that line. Thinking, what's he doing? And then he took off and he got a bit of wheel spin. I'm like, oh God, is he going to?
I think he made sure
he already passed it
line.
by then, mate. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Although
he
gave everyone a heart attack when he locked up though on the second last lap or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Lucky to only lose 2 seconds. Yeah.
It was almost a faultless race, and just that last lockup. But
by
he
then
had time to spare.
He was clearly in front. And George wasn't. He was gaining a bit, but he wasn't catching him.
Well,
I don't think maybe George wasn't even really trying. But anyway.
He got held up by the Ferraris for a while when they were battling, and that I think it hurt his tyres a bit. So by the time he got past, what was it, 7.5 second gap to close down in 15 laps. So yeah, he wasn't going to be able to do that. He would have been praying for a safety car. Then it would have been great viewing at the end. But Kimi did a great job.
I'm saying that the cars sort of learn their laps, like how to deploy and where to harvest the energy for the lap. So the cars learn an optimal lap. So they said when you've got cars that are fighting, such as the 2 Ferraris and George, it upsets that optimal lap because they're doing different things or they're deploying at different times. So Kimi had the benefit of just doing clean laps all the time, doing nothing. So they had, in theory, optimal battery deployment.
Yeah, I found that really interesting because a couple of drivers commented on that after the race. Basically, Leclerc was one. I think Ollie Behrman was the other. And they said, yeah, the cars sort of learn. It's not manual. They're not pushing buttons to control things. The car learns the fastest lap. So if you're a bit aggressive in corners, you get to the main straight and the car decides, no, you've had your turn and it doesn't deploy as much power, then you're stuffed. It must be a weird thing to drive.
I thought they had full control, but
I think that's the thing is they have a mix of it because if you look at the front runners, surprisingly, George who's had the hardest time with getting to work through that deployment. So you've seen that the Ferrari drivers have actually worked out their deployment a lot better. Kimi seems to be doing it, and George is now just starting to come to terms.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Ferraris were just a bit too hard on their tyres and couldn't keep up with Kimi or George in the end. So there's still
George
a
was saying
sizable
that
difference
they were
there.
quick, really quick in certain spots. So, which I'm assuming is the tighter corners and all that. And he said, they're quick in the tight spots, and he couldn't actually get past them for a significant period of time because he'd take them on the straight, and they just whip through those corners and take it back again. So they've got part of the setup right. If they can just get some extra speed boost, whatever you need down the straights, they could have a winning package of it.
Yeah.
And Schwags, we've seen one of your boys. I haven't seen him happier in such a long time, having some battles with his teammate. And, I know Huppy and Lockie and I were sitting on the edge of our seats with a bunch of oohs and ahs as we thought they were going to take each other out. But that was just fantastic racing.
There was many times that you're like, don't crash into each other. What are you doing? It was really close. But there was some really good fighting there. And Lulu came through with the goods, which was nice. I think towards the end, Leclerc kind of dropped off a little bit off the pace. So he kind of didn't come back for another charge. But, yeah, he got the job done and got back on the podium, which was quite a fitting podium with that had George, Lewis and Bono, isn't it?
Oh, yep.
Bono has been the race
Mercedes
engineer for all three of them at one stage or another. So it was actually quite a nice little. It was good that I think it was good that Lewis got to share Kimi's win, and then also because of what happened I think last year in Melbourne with George's dad and Kimi and that sort of
I think it was just
they had.
It was just that perfect moment of bringing all that together, the transition, and you had Toto who was looking at the screen saying, "Oh, we've got 1, 2, and 3." And it's like the guy in red, he's our driver.
Part of the family.
Because Leclerc got on the radio towards the end of the race and commented saying, "This is the most fun I've had racing for ages. This has been a fantastic race." And then Lewis got up on the podium and said, "That's the most fun I've had in a car in years." He goes, that was a great race. Although he did admit that they actually touched once or twice as they were racing. He goes, "It was just a kiss though, just a kiss."
Yeah.
So they did actually touch while they were doing it. But that racing was great to watch. I mean, I'm sure Fred had probably 4 minor cardiac arrests as they were doing it, but that was great, right? That was, wheel to wheel, side to side. That was fantastic racing to watch.
It was impressive to see Hamilton come out on top against his teammate. We didn't really see that much last year at all. So I think that explained part of his good mood, and the racing was good. And I think, like you said before, like their platform, it looks pretty good. They've obviously got to solve some tyre wear issues, but outright speed-wise, they're not far away. So the Tifosi got to be pretty excited at the moment.
Well, because we were saying too, as you're watching them go around, the Mercedes and the Ferrari looks quite stable, whereas when you're heading towards the back of the field, the Cadillac, even the Williams and even the Audis, they're just not quite as stable running through the corners at high speeds as what those two are. So they both seem to have quite a good platform. I mean, I'd love to be able to judge the McLarens, but it's very hard to judge on nothing. So, but yeah, so those ones seem to have a really stable platform to run with at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see if the others can then catch up and mimic, but try and get the same platform.
We saw a couple of instances in the broadcast where the Red Bull in particular looked a handful to drive. We saw Max getting a bit loose on some corner entries, a small lock up here and there, and then probably my favourite moment of the whole race was when Hadjar went for an overtake on the inside line onto the main straight, gave it too much throttle and spun the car. Like that We rarely saw that in previous years, but the amount of power available under the driver's right foot these days means they have to be careful. And we finally saw someone spin a car under power. I thought that was awesome to see. Bad luck for Hadjar, sorry mate, but from the audience
I think
perspective,
Hadjar was cheering as much as you,
great.
Nate. But anyway,
Did we see someone spin the car last week under power too?
Yeah, well, Kimi did in was that FP3. He nearly didn't get out for qualifying because he spun and
It was
then
Oscar before the warm
end
up.
of turn 2, and then Oscar as well.
Sorry,
I blocked that out from my
Too soon.
memory.
Yeah,
I
no,
blocked
too
it
soon.
out.
Too
got
soon.
the
You
hat back on,
forgot
Dan.
about
Give him a
that.
break. Like,
Recovered. You know, he
I'm trying to
stopped
bring the
shaking
positive
yesterday.
energy. Come on. But no, it's
But
good to see. Like these cars are they're not easy to get the power down. Like, that's what we want to see. There's got to be a proper race car to test these drivers out. There's got to be some skill involved here. So it was good to see.
What a great evasive maneuver by, was that Ocon?
I think it might have been Ocon, yeah, or Behrman. It
Ocon
was one of the two.
Colapinto.
No, when Hadjar spun.
when Hadjar spun
sorry,
out, like you just look at him like he had to go really wide, but geez, it was
good, yeah.
Yeah. And I like that we get back to traditional racing where we saw Ocon and Colapinto have a bit of a ballet move as they both span together after a little bit of contact. And it's great to see the bolt cutters come out in Formula One as they are cutting parts of the car off so they can continue racing.
Very high.
he
tech.
was faster after that, though, so it worked.
He was faster. Well, I'm glad he was because that allowed me to get Perez to the back of the grid and get points out of that. So I'm
not so happy about that.
Very
part,
grateful.
Anyway.
Yeah, haven't seen you cheer so loudly for a back marker. That was interesting.
bolt cutters.
That's Ocon.
Okay, it was us.
There was stuff hanging off it, so they just trimmed it.
But Huppy, to your point, and when we talk about how difficult the car is for Verstappen to control, we're now seeing, and this is where you're seeing Verstappen and Hadjar being line ball in regards to the performance of the Red Bull. So yes, we did have a DNF for Verstappen because he had to retire the car, but we're seeing both of them sort of at the same spot.
I mean, you can only really be measured against your teammate. But Hadjar at the end of the race said, my measure is, regardless of where we finish, is Max, because sitting next to me in the garage is the best driver in the world currently. So he's doing a good job. Lindblad's doing a good job. Antonelli's doing a good job. Like, this year is a reset for everyone. So it's good to see the more inexperienced drivers actually being fairly close to their more experienced counterparts.
Look, I think this is where, when we look at, once we get past the top four of Mercedes and Ferrari, we saw a really interesting mix of Behrman in P5. We saw Gasly in P6 and Lawson, who redeemed himself from Melbourne, in P7. So we're starting to see some of these midfielders and further backs starting to come up and rise to the surface a little bit.
Only because half the field didn't finish.
Yeah.
We'll start.
Cadillac and Williams and Audi are helping that a bit, aren't they?
Yeah, we had a well-timed safety car, so a couple of cars didn't pit earlier. It mucked the strategy up, which is great. That's what we want to see.
Yeah. So, so with all that, Huppy, I know you were asking the question before.
Yes. Well, look, I guess I had a question for all of us, which was, we've got a brand new set of regulations. The biggest change that I can remember, the cars are complicated. It's hard to explain how the cars work to the public these days. Teams are getting to grip with new engines, deployment, different battery settings, AI, blah, blah, blah. I think there's one group of people who say that the racing's been great, another that are saying it's a bit artificial, it's just pushing a button to overtake. But I'd really love our opinions on it. A score out of 10. What do you think the racing itself has been like for the first 2 rounds of the year? And then out of 10, what do you think the potential of this set of regulations is for the next 2 or 3 years? Christian, you can go first.
So far, look, I think the racing, I would give it a solid 7. I've been really happy with the battling and what's been going on in regards to what this could look like for the rest of the season. For me, if they can work out the clipping, the super clipping, and if for those who are watching the broadcast over the weekend, what I'm really disappointed about is Formula One media who are blocking the content on the back straight. So we're not seeing cars that are losing 70 kilometres as they've got the super clipping with the battery backing off. if they can fix some of that and we can still get some nice tight racing, I'm hoping it'll be about a 9 out of 10. To be honest, I'm really
Right.
enjoying the racing.
So 7 out of 10 so far. Potential, you reckon, is a 9. All right.
Absolutely.
What about you, Dan?
Look, I was probably a bit harsh earlier when we talked about this before we went on, but yeah, look, I'd probably say a 5. And a part of it is, for me, at the moment, it's early in the season, so I'm not really invested in anyone yet. There's no, like, towards the end of last season was cracking because there was 2 drivers that could win it, or 3, and it was close, and there was so much going on, and it was really pointy. It was also close, and I know the racing mightn't have been that good, but the championship had sort of built up to something, and nothing's really building yet because it can't, because there's only been 2 races. So we're looking at, Mercedes potentially being very dominant for the whole year until mid-year when they get, their compression ratio, when they actually start playing by the rules. Because I
Bloody
think,
Germans.
it's great that they're all, well, to be fair, like that's what's happening. And I'm sort of looking forward to I'm looking forward to the mid-season when they go, well, what's going to happen when they're all doing the same thing. So look, let's just say at the moment at 5, look, I agree that the racing's good. It's a bit of chewing and throwing. There's more overtakes because we're all going, the overtakes, there's nothing happening. Monaco last year, it's like, how boring, nothing happened. So there's more happening and there's more going on during the race. So yeah, look, from that point of view, it's good. And you're right, because we're seeing some of the younger, or maybe not younger, but some of the less experienced drivers with the ability to actually place and get points and do okay. Like, I think what they say, it's Team Behrman. It's not Haas. It's, and he's scored probably a lot more points than they even scored about last year yet. But so yeah, you're seeing some of those drivers do a bit more. So that's interesting. But yeah, look, it's probably a lot of stuff that I'm saying 5.
5 out of 10
way.
so far this year, and potential
So far,
down the track.
with the potential for maybe an 8 or 7. Few years'
Okay.
time. Oh,
So it's underwhelming for you.
At the moment, I feel, I don't know.
He's a glass half full sort of guy.
Oh, no, that's all right.
Probably a bit underwhelmed.
He can be wrong. We can be right. It doesn't matter. What about you, Lachlan?
I'd just like to state from the outset, I do not want Dan marking my stuff as a teacher. Damn, I would not score well.
Seeing your spelling.
I'd have
Try
to go back
harder,
and
be
repeat the
better.
class again and again. Okay, I'm sort of the other way from
It's
Dan.
uni all over again.
Oh, mate. And I used to copy
2
his
out of
work.
10. Would not recommend.
No, I'm the opposite. I'm loving it at the minute. So I'm more like 7.5, 8, because I love the fact we've got overtaking, we've got challenges. I actually love the fact the cars are now not necessarily harder to drive, but they have to put some more thought into it. Last season to me was just copy, print, paste, copy, print, paste. Whereas now they're actually having to think about everything. They can't just go out there and fang it. I don't like the fact, as Christian said, there's clipping. I said once they fix that they can race the whole straight without having to recharge and do all that, I think you'll find that these cars will actually be phenomenal to watch. The challenges that people can do on them at the moment are really exciting. I think not only the top end, like forget the fact that Antonelli skipped away. If you look at between 2 and 5 and 6 to 10, there was fighting happening for 60, 70, 80% of the race last weekend. It was really good to watch. So I think the teams have to overcome these technical challenges that they've got. Now, it is not going to be a 1, 2, 3 week situation for them, but this year is the learning year for everyone. Next year, I think what you'll see is the teams will have figured it out, not necessarily Cadillac and Audi at the moment. They'll give them 2 or 3 years to come into it, but I reckon we'll have a lot closer challenges for the top 2 or 3 teams, and I think you'll find those mid-tier teams will start challenging for the top, and that's actually what I'm looking forward to.
Interesting.
And what's your verdict, Nath?
Yeah, I've been thinking a bit about this. I think so far I'd probably give it about a 6. I mean, it's great to see overtakes, but the overtakes are quite artificial. It's whoever wants to deploy more battery at that time, and there's still too much of a gap in performance between some of the cars. Like I'd really like more pure racing where it's based on driver skill, drivers being daring, drivers pushing the limit, etc. But I think the potential for this set of regulations, I think, could be a 9 out of 10. I think the potential is really good, but I'm concerned that there will still be too much left in the hands of computers and cars learning optimal deployment and everything else. Like I want it to be more driver control. Love the fact they're powerful cars. Love the fact that you can light up the rear tires on a corner and spin it if you think you're Ayrton Senna and you're not. That's fantastic. But I want to see more of that and less of the artificial computer controlled automatic deployment, that side of things. I think it's getting too complicated for viewers. So as long as they can find the right balance there, I think the potential is in a couple of years' time, this could be a cracking set of regulations. Really good.
So you're saying a 9 out of 10 in a couple of years' time,
Potential.
not by the end of this year?
Potential. Yep.
I think some of these computer glitches that are knocking teams out a little bit unfortunate. Get that right pretty soon.
Yeah.
And look, whether or not it's computer glitches for this set of regs, you had different scenarios for different regulations. It's as the teams work themselves out. So with that, Schwags, as you're saying, is getting to the middle of the season when we start to see the compression ratio rule change. So again, we're talking about the fact that it has to be 16-1 at 130 degrees temperature for the engine. We have 2 weeks now until the Japanese Grand Prix, so that gives the team some time to work on their cars. But the other big news is that we've had the Bahrain and Saudi Arabian Grand Prix cancelled due to the tensions in the Middle East. Actually takes us really close to the middle of the season, because essentially after that we've got Miami and Canada before we hit Monaco in June, which is when the regulation change comes into play. So we're only going to have a couple of races before we should see some parity between Mercedes and the other.
I like how you call an all-out war tensions. It's a nice plateau description there. People bombing each other. Just a couple of tensions. It's all right. It's all good.
Moderate
Couple of
disagreement.
missiles, just tension.
Tension. Yep.
As some friends of mine in that area say, it heats up and it cools down.
It's one way to look at it. Yep. I'm thinking it's on the warmer side at the moment, if we're honest.
Yeah, very warm. It's toasty. Yep.
Well, at least it'll give the teams a bit more time to focus internally on fixing their electrical issues if you're McLaren, or deployment issues if you're someone else, or
Or
have an
vibrating
engine
steering wheels if you're
vibrating to
Honda.
pieces. Yeah, exactly. So we might see a big improvement from some teams after that. Forced break.
And we might see some big changes with Aston Martin, because there is now rumour that Lawrence Stroll has shared that he thought it might have been premature to put Adrian Newey into the team principal position. So we may actually see some shuffling in the Aston Martin camp in the next few weeks.
So you think Christian
never
Horner's
really
coming in?
understood
Is
that.
that what we're thinking? Or
Sorry, was that?
Christian Horner, team principal? Is that what we're thinking? Or
You never know.
Yeah, I don't know what he's like as a team principal, but from what we'd heard, it sounded like he was the one who discovered that there were issues. It wasn't him he didn't cause it. So yeah, it would be an early exit and not great for his long-term career if he wanted to be a team principal. But I mean, he's 100% focused on fixing these issues. So I guess if I was Lawrence Stroll, I'd just let him get to it and fix it.
All right, so as much as the excitement has heated up on track, it has too here with downshift predictions. I'm happy to say that thanks to a poll from Kimi Antonelli and the valiant efforts of Sergio Perez, I've now made a bit of a resurgence.
So as we points.
So as we put the leaderboard up there, Happy, you've grabbed an additional 4 points from the weekend, putting you into 14th place. Lockie, I've joined you.
Place. I mean, number one, mate.
I'm sorry, in number one.
14 points.
14 points, putting you into first, keeping you in first position.
14th place sounds better. Let's go with that. I agree with that.
Yeah. I've joined Lockie in second with an equal 8 points, and Schwags, you're sitting there with 6. So you need to have a good hard look at your hat.
Looks like the hat
lucky
peaked
hat,
early.
not so lucky.
I think so.
Yeah, just
Feel
out
like
of curiosity,
the
did
McLarens
Dan and
out of
I
it.
get 4 points for the Grand Prix that are cancelled, and you and Nate get nothing? Is that how this system works, or how are we doing with this? I tried for you, Dan.
If I pull drones out of the hat, I want to get some points.
Well, actually, that was interesting talking about drones. Is we were watching the broadcast, and there was a drone that sort of shot across the track. And Happy, you'd picked up that it looked as though something was coming onto the track.
I ducked for cover. Yeah, I thought it was a bomb coming.
Through the TV.
And so congratulations also to Bronny Team 1, who remains in the lead in our F1 Fantasy League with 586 points, closely followed by Linley Team 1 at 583 and myself in third at 463. As we get into the F1 Predict, it's only myself, Happy and Lockie who are in the league at the moment, where I've hit the boost button and shot out in the lead to 155 points. 63 over you, Lockie. And Happy, you forgot
recounted.
I forgot completely to do my predictions on the F1 website. So, yeah.
Yeah, way back at
deservedly
the grid.
third. They're back of the grid. I'm going to do a Honda. You watch the last half of this
Shake
season.
yourself to death, or
I just wanted to give myself a challenge. We're going to see if we can win from the back.
But look, for our listeners and our viewers, it's not too late to join. So if you're already playing F1 Fantasy and F1 Predict, all you need to do is jump onto the Formula One website, go on to Fantasy, and then click on Leagues. In the top right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a red button that you just need to click that says Join a League button. And in the search window, type Downshift and select the Public button. Then you just simply pick the league. It's that simple.
So I'm
Sounds
just trying to cut
complicated.
down. I haven't joined the league. I'm trying to minimise the number of leaderboards I'm last on. So I'm just going to let this one slide for the moment.
Making up the numbers.
But it's also been great, happy to see a number of people jumping onto the live timing app.
Yeah, got a bit of traffic over the weekend from that one. We started ranking in Google for people searching for F1 live timings. Yeah, going all right. I've put no more time into it for the week, so everyone, it's just the same as it was last week. But it seems to be working okay with not too many bugs. But there's a couple of things I noticed, so I'll be working on that before Suzuka.
Well, you've got 2 weeks as we have a 1-week break before we head over to Japan for the Suzuka Grand Prix. So plenty of time for that. So there will only be one episode this week as we prepare for the next round.
Looking forward to it. Suzuka, great track.
sorry, were we supposed to jump in there, or
I don't know. I ran out of words.
No, you ran out of words. Gee, that's rare. Can we print that and put it on the wall behind you?
Quote of the season.
Suzuka will be a challenge for teams with tyre wear issues because the first 2 sectors of that track, it's fast cornering, heavy load on tyres. You've got to have good downforce for that track. It's really a grip and downforce track. So I would expect McLaren would be not McLaren, Mercedes. I'm so used to saying McLaren from last year.
put
Oh my God, when is this going to
so
start?
hard, isn't it?
McLaren will be in the pits, but Mercedes will be flying through these corners. They will be strong. That's my
Just let it go, man. I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to
and-
seeing 22 cars actually start the Grand Prix. For
That
this
would
And
be
year.
22
nice.
cars finish. That's
Considering
what
the
I'm looking
last
forward to.
2 races of the new cars that have come, there hasn't been 20 cars even starting.
Well done, though, to Cadillac. Just as a last point over this, Cadillac had 2 cars finish that race. That was the first time they'd raced a sprint race. That's the first time both cars had finished a Grand Prix. They were light years behind, but they finished. They got a heap of experience.
Data.
Well done.
They tried not to because Perez was trying to take Bottas out at one stage, wasn't he? They gave it a crack.
Apparently, he had an issue, but yes, he nearly took him out. Yes.
and to be fair,
didn't Bottas share the sandwiches?
Let's just use Lewis's term of they had a little kiss.
and to be fair, they still finished ahead of McLaren, so they can't be doing everything bad.
That's true.
No, they are doing well. So
Yeah. And at Suzuka, let's be honest, we'd all like to see Oscar complete an actual lap for this year's championship thing, given that he's
Well, this will be round 1 for Oscar.
Yeah.
Round
maybe
1.
that
Go,
might
Oscar.
be one of our predictions for Suzuka is how many laps is Oscar Piastri going to finish?
We need to come up with a few
done.
extra bonus predictions. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I want to bet on that.
So with that, be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Only the one episode this week until we do our preview of Suzuka. Until then, we'll see you on the next lap.